Former chief of staff of the Israeli military, has accused the army of carrying out ethnic cleansing in northern Gaza. Moshe Yaalon says the military is, quote, cleaning the area of Arabs. The Israel Defense Forces have rejected the claims, but his remarks highlight deep concerns in Israel about the ongoing conflict. Now, 160 reserve soldiers have signed a letter threatening not to serve, or they're refusing to go to Gaza unless there's a deal to end the war and bring Israeli hostages home. Fergal Keen has more from Jerusalem.
There was no doubt then about reporting for duty. Israel was under attack.
Seeing dead bodies on the streets, cars punctured by bullets, I know at least 3 people that were brutally murdered in the 7th of October. Israel is a small country. Everyone knows each other.
The duty to serve was felt across a wide spectrum of Jewish political and religious life.
I went up to our neighbor and I knocked on his door and asked him, what's going on? He said, don't ask, we got terrorists, they've infiltrated the country.
2 of our friends from our village were killed that day. One of them is Shani Luke. She became quite famous. It was also like personally very hard hitting. So I was like, I knew that the military action was inevitable and was due and was justified in a way. But I was very worried about the shape that it might take.
As images of the attack and the abuse of hostages in Gaza spread, some prominent Israeli public figures were using extreme language.
People were speaking about killing the entire population of Gaza, speaking about as if it was some type of an academic idea that makes sense. And with this atmosphere, soldiers are entering Gaza, just a month after their friends were butchered.
I think the most horrible sentence that I heard was someone said to me that the kids that we spared from 2014, the last war in Gaza, became the terrorists of October 7th, which I bet is true for some cases, because, some kids grew up to be terrorists, but definitely not all of them.
Such soldiers were a minority, Michael says, but the immense scale of destruction in Gaza added to fears about the way the war was being fought.
The turning point was when they told us to burn down a house. And I went to my commander and I asked him, why are we doing that? And the answers he gave me were just not good enough. And that was my last day in Gaza.
The army blames Hamas for civilian suffering and says it follows international law, a view echoed by a reservist who believes in continuing the war.
There's no way to fight a war and to prosecute a military campaign without these images happening. It's, you can't mow the lawn without grass flying up. It's just not possible. There's no way to do it. And we try to limit it to as little as possible. It's very tragic. And that can be true while also saying that it is completely the fault of the terrorist regime that rules the Gaza Strip.
The turning point came for one refuser when 3 hostages were shot dead while walking towards soldiers under a white flag. A soldier opened fire after reportedly feeling threatened. Another disobeyed a ceasefire order.
And then I remember thinking, to what level of moral corruption that we got, right, moral decay that we got, that this is something that can happen. And I also remember thinking, there's just no way this is the first time it happened. It's just the first time that we are hearing about it because they're hostages. Because if the victims were Palestinians, we just would never hear about it.
The suffering of Palestinians was a constant concern for the refusers we spoke with. One soldier who agreed to speak on condition of anonymity described the abuse of prisoners, not these, that he says he witnessed.
Soldiers that I know beat Palestinians that were helpless and could afterwards boast about it to the soldiers in their companies and to their commanders. And people would pretty calmly talk about cases of abuse or even like murder, as if it was technicality, with real serenity.
The IDF says prisoner abuse is banned and investigated if alleged. The refusers are a small group, just scores out of hundreds of thousands of reservists. But polls suggest more Israelis want a peace deal to bring hostages home. The refusers we met were caught between worry for the future and hope that in the long run, Palestinians and Israelis might find a way to make peace.
I think in this conflict, there are only two sides, not the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. There's the side that supports violence and the side that supports, finding better solutions.
It's scarier and scarier. Every day it just looks less and less likely that I will be able, holding the values that I hold, wanting the future that I want for my kids to live here.
With Israel under attack on October 7th, there was national solidarity. It hasn't disappeared, but the questioning of the war's aims is gathering pace. Fergal Keane, BBC News, Jerusalem.